Namaste, my dear friends. The last time we met, we spoke about unconditional love, that brave, tender act of giving without expecting, of shining like the sun even when clouds pass by. And that, dear ones, is why this conversation has to happen. It was born from your reflections, your honesty. We often imagine love as something we give away to our children, parents, partners, friends, and that is beautiful. But somewhere along that giving, a strange imbalance creeps in. Have you noticed it? You pour yourself into everyone else's cup, their needs, their moods, their comfort, until your own cup runs dry. And when it does, you look around, expecting perhaps a hand to refill it. But the whole world, busy and rushing, hardly notices. And there comes a day when you find yourself whispering quietly to yourself, I give and give, but who sees me? This moment, that quiet ache of invisibility, is where many of us start to doubt our own self worth. We begin to criticize ourselves. Maybe I'm not enough. Maybe I'm the problem. We replay old mistakes, compare ourselves to others, and the inner voice that once sang becomes an echo of blame. Slowly, love, that vast, generous force, turns against its own source. We go from loving to losing ourselves, from giving to grieving ourselves. You see, the human heart has a strange habit. When the world doesn't mirror our love back, we think we failed. When others walk away, we take it as a proof that we are unworthy. But Krishna, in the Bhagavad Gita, gently reminds us that the soul, the Atman, can never truly diminish. In chapter 2, verse 23 of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, weapons cannot cut the soul, fire cannot burn it, water cannot wet it, wind cannot dry it. What does it mean? It simply means nothing outside you has the power to destroy who you truly are. Not rejection, not loneliness, not even failure. What hurts us the most is not the event, but our identification with the event. We forget that we are not the wound, we are the awareness that sees the wound. Let's be honest here. Today's world doesn't make self love easy. We live in constant comparison, likes, comments, metrics, mirrors. Our phones flash reminders constantly of what we should be, more successful, more beautiful, more together. In the storm of shoulds, our sense of self quietly erodes. We start hating our reflection for not matching the illusion. We start doubting our own pace, our own worth, our own timing. And in that quiet doubt, we forget something sacred. That self love is not vanity, it is sanity. When Arjuna stood on the battlefield, paralyzed by despair, he said to Lord Krishna, my mind is confused about duty. I cannot see what is right anymore. This verse appears in chapter 2, verse 7 of the Bhagavad Gita. In that moment, Arjuna represents all of us, the self doubting mind. He is the part of us that says, I failed, I'm not enough, I can't go on. And Krishna, instead of criticizing him, offers compassionate clarity. He does not say you must be stronger, Arjuna. He says simply, remember who you are. And that, my friends, is self love. It is not telling yourself you are perfect. It is simply reminding yourself you are divine even when imperfect. So, when was the last time you spoke to yourself kindly? not as a motivator or critic, but simply as a friend. We are so gentle with others when they falter. We comfort our friends when they fail. Yet, when it comes to ourselves, we become harsh judges. But Krishna teaches balance, the middle path. He says in chapter 6, verse 16 and 17, Yoga is not for him who eats too much or too little, sleeps too much or too little. For him who is moderate in food, recreation, effort, sleep, and wakefulness, yoga becomes the destroyer of sorrow. This moderation applies not only to habits but to self expectations. Self love, according to Krishna, means respecting your own rhythm, your own capacity. It means allowing yourself rest without guilt, growing without comparison, healing without haste. Personal love, when misunderstood, can become self neglect. When you love others so deeply that you forget your own boundaries, your own needs, you are not practicing divine love, you're practicing self depletion. True unconditional love, Krishna would say, includes yourself. Because how can an empty vessel keep pouring? In chapter 6, verse 5, he tells Arjuna, Let a man lift himself by himself, let him not degrade himself. For the self alone is the friend of the self, and the self alone is the enemy of the self. Your own self can be your greatest friend when you nurture it, or your worst enemy when you abandon it. So, yes, love others unconditionally, but never abandon the one heart that beats closest to you, your own. Think of yourself as an ocean. Your relationships, children, parents, partners, friends, are waves rising and falling on your surface. Each has its own rhythm, its own journey. Sometimes a wave comes close and kisses the shore of your heart. Sometimes it retreats far into the distance. But the ocean remains, isn't it? Deep, full, vast. When we forget this, we cling to the waves, and when they recede, that is the time we feel abandoned. But the Bhagavad Gita reminds us everyone around us is following their own karma, their own inner current. Your child, your sibling, your parent, each soul has its own lesson to learn. You cannot swim the path for them. You can only hold them in compassion. And understanding this frees you from emotional exhaustion. It teaches you to love without drowning. What if you looked at yourself today the way Krishna looks at Arjuna, with infinite patience? He doesn't scold, he explains. He doesn't label, he illuminates. He sees in Arjuna not the trembling warrior, but the eternal soul temporarily lost in confusion. Imagine bringing that same gaze inward. When you fail, instead of saying, I'm useless, you whisper to yourself gently, This is my Arjuna moment. I am learning to see again. And that is Atma Vishwas. That's a Sanskrit word, simply in English meaning faith in your own essence. So, before you sleep tonight, place your hand on your heart, close your eyes, and say softly, I forgive myself for all the times I forgot my own worth. I release the need to be perfect. I'm learning to love myself back into wholeness. Let this be your first act of bhakti tonight, devotion to the divine within. Because truly, Krishna dwells not only in temples or scriptures, Krishna dwells in your heartbeat. Hari Om. Jai Shri Krishna, Radhe Radhe, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.